Hey everyone, this is Tom from MonTac here, and we are back at it again with another match of the week. This time we are, I think the last was in Pro B. Well, we're back in Pro B again, and we've got Vascanatomy versus Crimson this time. Crimson coming back from their Masters outing. Unfortunate for them, they weren't able to get the win of a silver, but now they're looking to bounce back and see if they can get a win over the #1 ranked player in Pro B. Vascanatomy's on a 2-match win streak, has been doing incredibly well with the droids. We're going to have to see if there's a way he can pull off this win. Let's see what Crimson's got. Crimson is known for the Vigilantes. Oh, and just shy of the 6 that they needed to get rid of that Brenner droid. This is going to be... Oh, we're going to go into Dan. Okay, so we're looking at Vigilantes, perhaps. Crimson... Basically, they got their pro title with the help of Vigilantes, but after a couple little adjustments to the deck, Crimson had to basically give them up for Eclipse Troopers, but now it seems he's been reinstilled with the desire to play Vigilantes and potentially give them one last go. But unfortunately, he'll be facing one of the most difficult matchups for Vigilantes in droids. We'll have to see if he's got what it takes to make this predicament positive. Dan is a really good card for Vigilantes, allows him to grab a Vigilante Tactical, and then it can be played regardless of class. So in this case he's grabbed Vigilante Casualty, which basically is a tactical that states, when the monster you play this on perishes, you may play a Vigilante from your deck, and it gains 1300. If you have none in your deck, you can grab one from your perish pile. So it's a very strong card here, and we're also dropping a Kalidas as well. Kalidas is an Elder. Very different to Synergies in the fact that they require stuff to be sent for them to be played in terms of things already being in the perish pile. But on top of that, they generally have, well, they have the ability to have no timer. They're permanent. They stay in play for the just as long as they can, as opposed to Synergies that are generally temporary. We're going secondary Dan. Crimson is really just pouring into the Vigilante strategy. This could be his last stand as a Vigilante player for all we know. Vascanatomy's deck, the Droids, if you're wondering, is a deck based on having a bunch of Class 2s with obscene power. However, their major drawback is that they all perish when you roll a 6, and some perish when you roll a 5. So it's a very interesting strategy. It's very Ooga Booga, as you would call it, but it is also a strategy that people have fallen in love with just for how simple it is. It's just a very simple archetype, but it is very hard to play them to their max capability. While they have a very low floor, their ceiling can appear short at times, and I'm not sure if Vascanatomy is going to be able to pull the very best out of droids right now. They have been playing for a little while. It's just, do they have what it takes to deal with this Vigilante presence? Vigilantes being a deck that, for the longest time, was the #1 deck. Going Droid Jammer in response. Droid Jammer is a great card. So, as I mentioned previously with all the droids, they have the drawback that if you roll, generally it's a 6, sometimes it's 5 or higher, they perish. But Droid Jammer is a constant tactical, allows you to, when it's played, search for a droid card added to hand. But on top of that, while it's in play, enemy rolls don't count for the specialties of your droids, which means you only have to worry about the rolls you are doing. Now, on top of that, you have to realize that the die is rolled every single turn in MonTac. So Vascanatomy, every single turn they are gambling that their printer droid does not perish. But unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it'll be enough, as Crimson has just ripped that to pieces and taken 2 damage away from Vascanatomy to start us off. That's a very strong play there, and we're going to see if Vascanatomy can roll. Checking now the roll. It's a roll of 3. They are still safe. They can go Beverage Droid, going into Printer Droid from Perish Pile. Again, if you have a look at these stat lines, for a class 1, they go for about 300 to 250, 200. And then the class 2s, which are about 500. But if you have a look at these slot droids and these printer droids, that's 1,000, that's 2,000, and that's 3,000. It's just huge. But like I said, if you have a quick look here, when a 6 is rolled while this card is in play, it perishes. So it does have that drawback. But goodness me, it is a very fun deck to play. We've got Marine Guard right off the bat from Crimson. He's very cautious to lose his Vigilantes so quickly. So Marine Guard is a good tactic here, but you only get to really use it a couple of times, as after it ends the turn, Marine Guard becomes extinct, which in this game is basically it means that the monster cannot leave the perished pile. Or sorry, not monster, but the card itself cannot leave the perished pile. So in this case, it's kind of a final resting place if you're extinct. Roll of 2 for Crimson once again. Getting a bit of a low roll now. Crimson's in a bit of a position right now as they've had a bit of a tough season. They were incredibly dominant champion last season, but this season it's been very difficult for them. And they're going to be really looking to get their first win in a couple of matches, to be honest. I think they're 1-4 for the season. If they can get this win here, that will really correct a huge problem they've been having. As for Vascanatomy, they're really finding their most success now. This is at the peak of Vascanatomy. They've been doing incredibly well, known generally for rogue beast tactics and milling decks. They've actually switched from that, trying to go for something a bit more simpler in the droids, and it's actually really working for them. They've gotten wins over, I believe they've got wins over Bob, and they've also gotten wins over, might be Time Anomaly, or it might be a rookie player. I don't remember exactly who the first one was they beat. I feel like it might have been Twilight, actually. Oh, no, I think it was Tailsweet, sorry. Tailsweet, I believe, was the first person they took out with this, and then they went to Bob, who is now also judging this matchup. Thank you, Bob, for judging the game. Always great to have someone taking care of these while we're commentating. We've got, obviously, Beverage Droid is in play. That is going to be really good for Vascanatomy. It gives them the ability to get into the next few cards. It really opens up their strategy a heck of a lot. Now, Crimson again is still under the hammer. Going after Kalidas right off the bat is probably really good for Crimson here, because when Crimson plays their card from Vigilante Casualty, it'll be around about 3,000. So Slot Droid, the big one, going after Kalidas first, is good. It means that the other ones who are generally weaker won't be able to deal with the cards he plays off of Casualty. If he can get access to Darius, he can get access to specialty removal, which is the heart of the Vigilante strategy. So the Vigilante strategy is all about specialty moving cards in play, cards in the perish pile too. We have a mechanic in the game called Sleeper Skills. This is a mechanic basically where if the monster loses its specialty, a Sleeper Skill automatically activates. It's a one-time use. Well, it's not necessarily one time, it just happens only once when that monster loses a specialty initially. So if you were able to give the specialty back, you could then remove it again and activate the Sleeper Skill again, but generally it doesn't happen too much more than once per game. In this case though, Crimson is going to be able to use the casualty to grab himself a Shining Beacon Vigilante Darius, which is going to be at 3,000. Basically, he is the heart and soul of Vigilantes, the main card, because it specialty moves and it has a stellar Sleeper Skill as well. He's also incredibly important for their synergy, and just really allows the deck to take command of momentum. We're going to go Vigilante Casualty again. This will allow them to go into potentially a second Darius, although they may choose to go something a little bit different if they believe that is the right cause. Let's see what they go into. Going into second Darius. Holy smokes. Okay. So obviously Crimson is in a position where he believes he has to have the momentum, has to have the power advantage. So he's going to go for 3,000 Darius. This is definitely his biggest main deck threat in terms of power. And he needs to make sure he doesn't get beat down by those droids. This is an incredibly important match for Crimson, and they are just absolutely playing their socks off to do everything they can to survive here. Vascanatomy, with that printer droid in play too, has got to be annoying Crimson. This is a stellar formation from Vascanatomy. Roll of 1 will really limit what Crimson can do here, but it does limit Vascanatomy as well. However, a lot of these little things, Vascanatomy has a bunch of cards that can work with the roll of 1, so we'll have to see if that truly hinders the Dreadlord. Immediately going after Printer Droid is the correct play here, but unfortunately for Crimson, they can't get rid of that slot droid this turn, or rather, if they do, it can just be revived next turn. So we're going to have Printer Droid dealt... Oh, hold on, this is an attack. This is a specialty removal. Okay, so they're specialty removing both of those monsters. That is the correct play in this case. Shutting down the revival from Beverage Droid and the protection from Printer Droid. This will allow Darius to potentially engage that slot droid and beat over it. Problem is they did roll a 1 though, so even if they want to go Titan Destroyer Sword, I think they're just using it to gain the health. Okay. So Slot Droid still stands as the biggest problem for Crimson. There's no way he'll want to crash that, because I think if he crashes, he will be in a tough position. He's going to sack 3 to deal with Droid Jammer. Great card to get rid of. It's not a huge deal, but it will mean the droids are more likely to be blown up by their own specialties. That is another thing as well. What makes droids so scary for vigilantes is that specialty removing them actually helps them in most cases, because it removes the ability for them to be popped by their own specialty because it's been removed. It's just a very, I would say, convenient situation for Vascanatomy, but I will say at the same time they have lost their revival and their protection. So 3,000 versus 3,000. And they're going to potentially use a Mono Mace, making it 3,900 until it perishes. Let's see if Vascanatomy is prepared for this kind of matchup, because if they're not, and Crimson is able to beat over the slot droid here, this will be huge for reviving their strategy. Just weighing up the options now. If they lose Slot Droid, this changes the tone of the match. However, if they can somehow win, holy smokes, we got Mono Mace, 3,900 versus 3,900. It is a potential crash right now, which will be devastating for Crimson. It definitely sucks, though, that he couldn't save it, or he couldn't go after the Darius on the previous turn, but it's whatever you gotta do. Both of them will be perishing, but something that Vascanatomy hopefully will pick up is that their slot droid will search, and will search for a slot droid card to add to hand, which is a Ascended Droid Eye. Ascended Droid Eye is a card that allows you to specially remove a monster while you have a droid in play and add 2 more droids to your hand. However, hopefully Vascanatomy is aware, once again, that all these Vigilantes have sleeper skills, so specially removing them isn't really the best idea. If you're in Vascanatomy's situation, I would say pop the Darius with something along the lines of an Operator. Because if you can specially remove, if you can pop the Darius, you can really remove the major component of Crimson's deck. Granted, there are far more stuff Crimson can throw your way, but it's a lot easier now they've lost their big monster. Ascended Droid Eye. So that will allow them to search for 2 cards. Will they specially remove the Darius is a good question. If they choose to, I mean, granted it will stop Crimson from specially removing Vascanatomy in the future, but it also means that Darius' sleep skill can activate. And what is the sleep skill, you say? Well, let's see if it actually activates first, and then I can explain it to you. But basically, Darius could get a fair bit bigger if the special move is happening. Weighing up the options now, whether to special move Darius. If they do special move Darius, this will be a huge problem. Holy smokes. Okay, so here's where things are going to get a bit scary for Vascanatomy. They've just specially moved the Darius, and Darius is going to gain the power of the original power of a perished monster. And unfortunately, Slot Droid is in the Perish pile of Vascanatomy. Not this one in play, but the other one in the Perish pile. And it has 3,000 as an original power. which means Darius can just take 3,000, which making it 6,000. Once again, an operator play would be really good here, just to deal with the Darius and not allowed to play it out. Printer Droid is in play, which is good. Good to have that body on field, but I think Vascanatomy is in a very tough position right now, and we're going to see if he can pull it out. Roll of 2, very good. Slot Droid hits the field. Does Vascanatomy have the counter? Because that's going to be... that Darius is going to be a huge problem if left alone. So it looks like potentially we're going into Destroyer Vigilantes. I'm not sure if it's actually Destroyer Vigilantes or if it's just Vigilantes. But Destroyer Swords are around, and they are, reasonably popular now. I would say they're probably less popular than they used to be, but overall they're still a pretty solid unit of cards that can be put into any deck. Basically their whole aim of the deck is to shuffle cards from your hand back into the deck to then cycle through the various weapons that Destroyer Swords have to suit different situations. Most of them activate when your monster is weaker, and hence like Titan Destroyer, Oppression Destroyer, but there is one final boss power-up, which is generally, you could say it's Conquistador, but I would say in this case, Infantry Destroyer Sword gets 500 for each perished Destroyer Sword in the perish pile, so we'll have to see if that comes up. "18 minutes into the matchup. Operator, there it is. Well done from Vascanatomy. That is the correct play. Popping the Darius is very nice. Strong play from Vascanatomy. This is how you deal with a threat. This is how you take care of a problem that will be huge for you down the line. Operator dealing with Darius right now is just incredible. This is really top tier play from Vascanatomy. However, I will say they will be using stuff from their asset pile. However, dealing with the Clytus early will kind of even this out a little bit. We're going to have to see how we're going further. Both players have the same amount of cards in the deck, same amount of cards in the asset, same amount of cards in their hand, but Vascanatomy does have 2 extra monsters in play. Truly going to be very interesting how this plays. Yeah, so Operator's going to gain a total of 30, going to 3,600. Very strong power right there. Operator is looking very scary right now. And Crimson, lucky for Crimson, it is not sudden death. Of course, that happens after 10 full turns have passed. We hit sudden death. But for now, we're still in main time and he can afford to take that 3 damage there. Go to roll a 3. What else we got? Going quick study Vigilante Dylan. Going after the Operator. That will drop the power of Operator, but still Operator remains larger than any of Crimson's monsters. Definitely a tough position for Crimson right now. He's going to have to figure out how he's going to win this match. Of course, he can beat over a lot of the cards, but it's still a very precarious position right now. This is going to be tough. Roll of 5. Lucky for Vascanatomy, that droid requires a 6 to perish. Very, very lucky at this stage. Vascanatomy still got a pretty good hold on this matchup, but Crimson potentially has some stuff we have not yet seen, and That could change it. Deltro hits the field. Okay, this changes the match entirely. By discarding a card from their hand, they can play Deltro regardless of class, and give all monsters they command an additional attack. So this means we've got 6 attacks on board, which means we do have lethal. So at this stage, we've got 6 attacks on board, and Crimson is in trouble. This could be a very scary position. I will say I think Crimson has a way to get out of this, very likely, and Savage Dual Shield to block. I wonder why Crimson didn't try to go into his next asset. Maybe he's trying to be a bit more conservative. Droids do be droiding, you know. They are very scary. Crimson rolls the 4 they need. Gonna especially move the slot droid. I don't agree with that play right there. I think that's a really bad idea. I know that they want to prevent slot droid from searching, I guess, but it's really not that big of a deal, you know? Like, why would you especially move slot droid? There must be some other reason. My guess could be a lance. Would be my guess, like a lance vigilante. MonTac vigilante lance. I don't know, we'll have to see. Roll of 3, we're going to go for honor droid, which give them the extra 500 on that slot droid. That's pretty nice. And we've got 5 attacks still on board, which means we still have lethal if Crimson does not defend these. Going after Dylan first. Okay, interesting. What do we got? Does Dylan get defended is a good question here. Gonna Guilty C, or now called Vigilante Intimidation. This will drop the enemy monster down to 0 until the end of the current turn. That is pretty big there if this shuts off Vascanatomy. Does Vas have the response? Does Vascanatomy have a response? Outcast Axe. Holy smokes. That is ruthless right there. That's 1600 over the Dylan. Crimson having to Titan Destroyer Sword, which will work, will get Dylan up to a total of 3150. And it's successful. Wow. Sorry, not 3150. 2650. I was adding on the Outcast power there. 2650 is really nice here for Crimson. They really needed that boost. But I will say, Vascanatomy is forcing out a lot of Crimson's counters. Going to take out the Jared. We got Vascanatomy looking to do something, and they're going to pass the turn. Mine must have been a misclick. Roll gets the 5, but Honor Droid still can't perish as it is requiring a 6. Of course, Dylan could just special move Honor Droid, but won't they just... Yep, they're going to special move Honor Droid. Okay. Special moving Honor Droid will prevent it from powering up other droids in play, but it also prevents it from perishing due to the 6. Although, as we are starting to see, it's pretty rare to actually roll that 6. But when you do, it can be lethal. Here we go. So this is going to be Mansect. Mansect goes to hand. Mansect is a card that when it's played, you can special remove itself, and then all monsters in play, and one enemy monster, and then all monsters in play who are specially moved perish. So it's like basically a 1-card pop. But the advantage of Lucky 135ing it is, instead of Lizard Lance Mansect perishing, it's actually protected by the Lucky 135, which means you get a free pop of 2 enemy monsters, especially if they've already got something in play that's specially moved. It's just a very strong play, but he's not going to use it right now. Instead, he's going to go after the Deltro, which I didn't expect. Does Vascanatomy have a response, though? Holy smokes, what? Rage Release. That's going to take Deltro up from 1750. Hammer down! Oh, that Deltro would have been 7,000, but now it is back down to 1750. Does Vascanatomy have the counter? Vascanatomy's been shut down. Holy smokes, that could have been dangerous for Crimson if they lost Dylan here. They're both playing very well, very even, I would say. I wouldn't say one has a huge advantage. Vascanatomy getting difficult rolls here, but I will say I think Vascanatomy has the ability to potentially win this matchup. They just got a really good deal with that Dylan now and prevent any sort of momentum. Droid Jam are going to search them another card, I imagine. There's not really any point going Droid Eye here, but I guess special removal in general is nice. They can grab a Mirror Droid, but they've rolled a 1 for turn, so how are they going to get it out? Who knows? I would say they're probably going to set up something else later on, but we're going to have to see if they choose that route. Crimson already looking into second deck. I wonder why. Droid Eye hits the field, allows them to search for 2 more droid cards, and then special move something. I guess special moving Dylan's pretty nice. I guess it stops them from special moving your droids, but like I said previously, it's kind of good to lose your specialties when you're a droid player. Maybe not for Vascanatomy's deck, though. We'll have to see. So going to add an Honor Droid and a Mirror Droid, neither of which can be played this turn. Dylan can... I guess it will gain 1,000 in its next conflict, so that's the Dylan ability there. That's pretty good. Not amazing, but it's pretty good. It'll be 3650 in its next conflict. And then it will drop down to 2650. Going Desolation Droid. Desolation Droid is going to hit the field at 4,000 double attacks. Okay, so Desolation Droid standing tall. Hold on, isn't it? Just checking now. I think Android's special moved. Okay, so on Droid, they're just catching themselves now. On Droid will not be able to power up the Desolation Droid as it is specially removed. But Desolation Droid is definitely big enough to deal with Dylan. The question is, does Crimson still have any sort of battle tricks remaining, as it were? And we are in sudden death, pretty firmly I might add, so any wounding is lethal. Crimson is forced to address this. We're going to go Terminal Silence. That... How does... hold on. I gotta call... Okay, so the Terminal Silence, okay, sorry, that does work. It will specially remove Dylan. I thought it was the powers gained from Dylan. Okay, so they gain the 1,000 until they perish. So that's what it's going to do there. Okay, so that will boost Dylan up to 3650. Apparently, that's pretty nice there for Crimson, I will say, actually. Good job there. Cool. I thought that was from Dylan's sleep score, and I started to get, like, worried that that might not be allowed. And we're going to go another Dylan. So Crimson running a very kind of high power, high just tactical strategy right now. Power-ups looking very dangerous in the current meta. So they're going to attack the Honor Droid. Vascanatomy might be forced to go into another asset here. Losing both slot droids will be really difficult, I will say. Plenty of time left in the match. Going for lethal. Can Vascanatomy bounce back? What have we got to defend ourselves? Desolation Droid. Desolation Droid stands at 4,000 power. Multi-attacks. If Vascanatomy... And Vascanatomy is safe from his own rolls due to Droid Jammer. Very nice there from Vascanatomy. Let's see what they roll. Gonna go on a droid. They probably should roll first, but yeah, that'll be really good in the future. Roll of 3. Still safe. I will say, actually, I did forget to mention that they would not be safe from their own rolls. They are safe from Droid Jammer on Crimson's rolls, and a Mirror Droid. Who will Mirror be copying is a big question. Who will Mirror be copying? I wonder. 1500, and it's going to copy on a droid here, so that's going to give everybody... Going to give Desolation Droid that extra 1,000, making it 5,000 on board. Everything is going to have 2 attacks. And this is going to be rough. Going, engaging again. Okay, Monomax is going to boost it to 1,800, so we're looking at a total of 5,450. $5,450. Crimson has just gone all in on the power-ups right now. And that will definitely be big enough to deal with Desolation Droid. Sheesh. Okay, that takes that down. Vascanatomy is losing his biggest monsters, and Crimson is somehow beating over droids. Mirror Droid will engage the Dylan, big enough to do so still. That Dylan becoming more and more of a problem for Crimson. Roll of 3. Going into second deck. What will Vascanatomy, or should I say Crimson in this case, bring to the table? What could happen here? Going after droid, or on a droid I should say. And Marine Guard. Good defense from Vascanatomy. They're going to need a way to deal with Crimson here, though. I imagine Operator would be a good pop, I actually think, at this case. I think Operator is the way we go. I think Crimson is probably should be running out of power-ups at this stage. Look at all the ones he's used. Mono Mace, Intimidation, Titan Destroyer, Sword, Hammer Down, Terminal Silence, Mono Max. I think Operator is where you go if you're in Vascanatomy's shoes here. But they may not have an Operator left. I don't know if they run 2 copies. Gonna have to see. Roll of 6. We did say that would happen. And unfortunately, that's where Vascanatomy loses his board. That might have shifted the entire state of this matchup. Losing those droids forces Vascanatomy to find another answer. Let's see what Vas can come up with. Going Shogun Droid at 8,000. No timer. This is gonna get rough. Shogun is a great card here, but if it gets special move, Vascanatomy could be left with a lot less options. Beating over Dylan. Intimidation, dropping it down to 0. Does Vascanatomy have the regen? If not, they have just lost Shogun Droid. They lost Shogun Droid. This is looking very much like a Crimson match right now. Passing it over. Crimson takes the match. Well, not match, sorry. Crimson takes the turn. But he's very close to taking the match, I will say. Playing Barox. Barox, the major attacker of the Vigilante strategy. Going to conflict is going to engage Vascanatomy. Does Vascanatomy have what it takes to defend this assault? And if he does he believe it's worth defending? Arathor hits the field. Arathor gained 250 for each perished monster in the perish pile. Each monster in the perish pile. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think 11 on that beverage droid. And they're going to revive a slot droid, which is very nice. So that's 10. So it's going to be, I think there's about 10 in there, so it's going to be 2,500 boost, making it 5,000. It will not be big enough to stop Dylan. But Slot Droid could be big enough to deal with Barox. We'll have to find out later. Arathor is in play. Okay, sorry about that. We just did a quick pause there. Looking to see what Crimson will be doing at this stage. What is Crimson going to do? Beating over Slot Droid here. Interesting choice not to go after the Arathor. Interesting there. I thought that would be 5,000. Maybe it's 6,000. Okay. Very good if it's 6,000. Passing the turnover. Roll of 4 for Vascanatomy, clutching only to an Arathor. Running out of options, unfortunately. I'm not sure if they have a way to win this. They will be weighing up their options as they engage Dylan. Really looking to get rid of that Dylan right now. And the hammer down. Crimson, just never-ending amount of responses at this stage. Just brutal. Dang. Vascanatomy is getting hard counter right now. Crimson is just on fire, ripping through this strategy. We did not expect him to use this many power-ups. Holy smokes. See what happens next. Is this it for Vascanatomy? Roll of 3 for Crimson. This might be it. Going into conflict. Crimson looking to reclaim their redemption. Will they get the win? Is this over? Is the match finally over? Vascanatomy drops Mutated Bear Soldier. Bear Soldier will drop all monsters that Crimson has by 500, which will be a deterrent, but it's not quite enough. We'll have to see if there's anything else left over. We're going to go into Barracks over Bear Soldier. Going after the Bear Soldier. Is there any response? Still lingering for a response here. Still debating now the responses. This is definitely taking a little while to figure out where we're going with this. Okay, gonna respond with this. Might be enough to save Vascanatomy in this case. Going into play Titan. Titan can't power up anything, though. I'm not sure what we're doing. Okay. Is there anything Crimson can do at this stage to finish this match off? No. Passes it back. Vascanatomy. Once again, has the floor. Can they turn it around from this point? It seems pretty dire. Okay, it looks like we might be having... They could be forfeiting right now. Is it over is the question. Is it over? Alright. That is game. Crimson wins through Vascanatomy conceding. Well played, both players. Tough match for you, Vascanatomy, but you played very well despite all the struggles. Thank you for watching. This has been a brutal matchup. Whew! This has been Tom. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.